specifications. You can't miss this. Remember, 10 a.m., May 15, Total Tools, Lot C6.
Ready to tackle that building project? Start right. Start here at H&L Rapid True Value for building supplies. The time by H&L Rapid True Value is
nationwide time, 5 o'clock.
Interex Distributors presents the ultimate tile clearance sale. Transform your space for less. Dunrobin Plaza, 30 Dunrobin Avenue. The temperature by Interex Distributors is
30 degrees Celsius in Kingston and Montego Bay.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Robianne Williams.
And I'm Mahiri Stewart.
In Nationwide News at this hour, flour and bakery mixes from Jamaica flour mills to increase by up to 6%.
We're looking at anywhere between a 4 and 6% depending on the type of flour that you buy.
Opposition senators renews call for the National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority NARA bill to go to Joint Select Committee.
But government senators accused them of flip-flopping on the issue.
The Cuban ambassador to Jamaica says her nation will not accept a regime change as it holds talks with the U.S. government.
It's only for us to decide, no any other third parties.
Minister Desmond McKenzie questions why contractors assigned to work on permanent housing solutions for shelter occupants have not been paid.
In news from the rest of the world, CARFA says risk of hantavirus infection in the Caribbean is low.
Trump says Russia and Ukraine have agreed to his request for a 3-day ceasefire and a prisoner swap.
In sports, Supreme Court denies application for injunction that could prevent Premier League playoff games going ahead this weekend.
And later in our broadcast, in our cover story at 5:35, lawmakers in the upper house are debating the National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority NARA bill. We'll hear from Government Senator and Minister of Industry, Investment and Commerce, Aubin Hill.
In the nation's business at 6:25, Managing Director of the Make Your Mark Group, Dr. Jacqueline Coke-Lloyd, is urging Jamaicans to embrace the importation of skilled labor. She'll join us.
Taking you around the world at 6:45, in the UK, Labour is set for a historic defeat in Wales as reform surge continues in English council elections. You'll hear more. And at 7, it's the comments section with Shalois Michael and Mahiri Stewart. This evening, they're asking, what do you love most about your mom? Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page, Nationwide News Network, and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio, and message us on WhatsApp at 876-285-5693. You can also leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide90FM. All these and more as we take you home on air, Nationwide 90FM this Friday afternoon. It's Friday, May 8, 2026.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
Now to the details. Jamaicans should expect a price increase of up to 6% for flour and some bakery mixes from Jamaica Flour Mills Limited. The increase is to take effect on Monday, May 18. Managing Director of Jamaica Flour Mills, Archie Williams, gave the update on Nationwide's front page on Friday. Kalicia Wright reports.
Jamaica Flour Mills announced the price increase in a letter dated May 4. The company's managing director, Archie Williams, says the cost increase is largely due to package inflation.
We have managed to absorb a lot of our costs. We have a very robust hedging strategy. We've taken a look at it and we've tried to dampen as much as we can. And we're looking at anywhere between a 4 and 6% depending on the type of flour that you buy and the mixes. When I look at mixes, some of our cake mixes, festival, a lot of that cost is driven by increased packaging. The facilities that we buy from have raised their prices more aggressively than we have.
Jamaica Flour Mills says the move is in response to global market conditions and a surge in commodity prices. Williams notes the cost to import wheat from the United States has increased by 26%.
Since the 5th of January, we've seen an uptick of 13 to 15%, depending on what wheat type, mostly spurred on by the issue in the Middle East. We've also seen a large increase on our freight costs. Obviously, we bring our wheat in from the United States using ADM's global supply chain, and we've seen an uptick of 26% on the cost of bringing in vessels. And again, all of that is due to rising fuel costs.
He says the company has also been forced to import fertilizers at an increased cost.
Fertilizer, it's been a steady run on that. You have anywhere between 25 and 30% increases there. But it's not just prices, it's the availability. A lot of fertilizer comes out of the Middle East, production in those areas. So that just again compounds that. And you couple up increased freight costs, the availability of fertilizer is, I don't think it's too much to worry about now, but obviously it will cost more.
Jamaica Flour Mills says it could revise prices accordingly if the global market conditions ease. Khaleesi Wright for Nationwide News.
The government and opposition are squaring off as the debate over the highly anticipated National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority, NARA, continues in the Senate. The NARA bill aims to establish a central authority to accelerate post-Hurricane Melissa reconstruction. The bill, which has drawn intense scrutiny in the lower house, is expected to pass along party lines later this evening. Siobhan Campbell tells us more.
The government is relying on the National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority, NARA, to deliver meaningful benefits for communities heavily impacted by Hurricane Melissa. It's also intended to act as a foundation for better infrastructure, placing the country on a strong footing to realize significant economic growth. However, Opposition Senator Ramon Small Ferguson, while supporting the stated objectives of the bill, questioned its ability to deliver.
It establishes an authority with far-reaching powers, unprecedented powers to influence how projects will be conceived, approved, accelerated, and executed at a national level. It's precisely the type of legislation, Mr. President, that would have benefited from a more expansive and inclusive consultative process, including, in my view, referral to a joint select committee.
Government Senator Keith Duncan hit back, stating that NARA will be the uplift that Jamaica desperately needs.
Jamaica is positioned for further investment to become the logistics hub of the Americas. Jamaica is primed for investment. Global capital is looking for a home, Mr. President. Our job is to build the legal architecture that says Jamaica is ready, the pathway is clear, and our project will be executed at speed and without having to navigate a bureaucratic maze.
But leader of opposition business in the Senate, Donna Scott Motley, chided the government for failing to listen to critical feedback.
In other words, you have said on numerous occasions, including not so long ago, that you were elected to govern, and govern you will. There is never any space or place for the views of the people unless it's convenient for you to do that. And you know why you didn't listen? Because if it comes from the opposition or somebody who is not a part of your cheering gallery, you never hear.
And Government Senator Auburn Hill argued that the criticisms leveled by the opposition make it clear that they've not properly read the bill.
Jamaica is positioned for further investment to become the logistics hub of the Americas. Jamaica is primed for investment. Global capital is looking for a home, Mr. President. Our job is to build the legal architecture that says Jamaica is ready, the pathway is clear, and our project will be executed at speed and without having to navigate a bureaucratic maze.
The debate continues in the upper house. Siobhan Campbell for Nationwide News.
Meanwhile, the government has again dismissed calls for the NARA bill to be reviewed by a joint select committee of Parliament. Government Senator Abka Fitz-Henley accused the opposition of flip-flopping on the issue. Shalois Michael has more in this report.
Put the NARA bill to a joint select committee, JSC, of Parliament. That's the call made by opposition Senator Ramon Small Ferguson as he made his contribution to the bill in the Senate on Friday.
It establishes an authority with far-reaching powers, unprecedented powers to influence how projects will be conceived, approved, accelerated, and executed at a national level. It's precisely the type of legislation, Mr. President, that would have benefited from a more expansive and inclusive consultative process, including, in my view, referral to a joint select committee.
He was backed by opposition Senate leader Donna Scott Motley. She reminded the House that she had pushed for the initial NIDS bill, which was found to be unconstitutional, to be reviewed by a JSC. But a state minister in the office of the Prime Minister, Senator Abka Fitz-Henley, accused the opposition of flip-flopping on a similar issue of whether Hurricane Melissa expenditure should be reviewed by a JSC.
In November, Philip Paulwell was quoted as saying that such a committee is unnecessary because it will take away from the powers of the Parliamentary Oversight Committee. That was the posture of the opposition when Dr. Holness suggested a joint select committee. The argument, sir, at the time was the urgency of the situation meant a joint select committee is not necessary. And they said the Parliamentary Oversight Committees are sufficient. Now, when a special purpose legislative vehicle to fast track the reconstruction process has been put forward, the opposition has changed their minds and they say we are demanding a joint select committee. We heard Senator Small Ferguson adumbrate along that line earlier today. They said let us delay for another 4 weeks or so and put it before a joint select committee.
Senator Fitz-Henley referred to a move by opposition MP Dr. Dayton Campbell when NARA was being debated in the lower house, and said Jamaica cannot afford its recovery to be affected by the mixed signals being sent by the PNP.
The PNP's Dr. Dayton Campbell drew for the good book during his contribution to the NARA debate. He drew for the right book, but he read the wrong verse. The scripture, sir, that may be appositely used to describe the opposition's posture on this matter of the Joint Select Committee is James 1:8, which says a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. I put it to you, sir, that communities in Jamaica and the entire post-Melissa restoration effort cannot afford and in fact should not be detained by the palpable flip-flopping and instability of the opposition PNP and their surrogates.
Shalois Michael for Nationwide News.
Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness is maintaining that governments cannot effectively deliver results through committees alone. He made the comment as he again defended the need for stronger executive authority to speed up the delivery of projects.
There is always need, and I do believe, that there must be a healthy skepticism about unbridled and unbounded executive authority. I'm the first to say that. But you can't get anything done by committees. You only get things done when you have effective executives. And what we have managed to do with our bureaucracy is to make executive authority and executive power ineffective. How are we going to get things done without enabling the executives to do it and holding them to account for what is done or not done?
Dr. Holness's comments coincide with ongoing worries about the National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority, NARA. The proposed authority is intended to expedite recovery efforts in Jamaica following Hurricane Melissa. The Parliament is now testing the legislation that would create the body. However, a number of the bill's provisions have been questioned by the opposition and civil society organizations. Their primary concern is the broad powers being granted to the CEO of NARA and the implications for transparency and accountability. The CEO of NARA's extensive authority and its consequences for accountability and transparency are their primary concerns. But Dr. Holness says the concerns are misplaced.
That needs to become a critical part of our accountability, that we get things done on time and quickly. I don't hear one person from civil society or anywhere talk about efficiency. My job is not to follow the common thought. My job is to look at things differently, to see the alternative, to chart a better course for the future we all claim we want. Because when you talk to all of them, they say, oh, we want the same prosperity, but none of them can show how that prosperity is to be delivered.
Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness, he was speaking at the groundbreaking ceremony for the Roselle Estate in St. Thomas on Friday.
You're listening to Nationwide News at 5. More news after these.
You're listening to Nationwide 90 FM. The time is
5:14.
Digicel makes it easy. Surprise mom with a new Samsung device starting as low as $12,000 plus tax. Visit your nearest Digicel store today. Digicel, powered by you, connected by us.
Continuing the news, no regime change. Cuban ambassador to Jamaica Tania Lopez LaRocque says her government will not accept a regime change in its talks with the U.S. government. In March, Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel publicly acknowledged that his government had been holding secretive talks with the U.S. for weeks as Trump intensified his pressure campaign against the regime. Following the U.S.'s capture of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, President Trump said Cuba was next for regime change. Mahiri Stewart reports.
Cuba has been experiencing months of deteriorating conditions due to a collapsing electricity grid. It has led to a humanitarian situation compounded by a total U.S. energy blockade on the Spanish-speaking Caribbean island. This has prevented critical oil from getting to Cuba, with the country receiving only one shipment since January. The most recent economic sanctions by the U.S. were imposed on May 1. They target the energy, defense, and financial sectors to stifle the Cuban military-run economy. The U.S. government has imposed sanctions against GESA, the Cuban military conglomerate that controls an estimated 40% of the country's economy. Other sanctions against a state-owned nickel operation are set to undercut key foreign exchange. During a conversation with journalists at the Cuban embassy in New Kingston, Ambassador Tania Lopez LaRocque expressed deep concern.
This act is an act of economic aggression that amplifies the extraterritorial effects of the blockade and further hinder the functioning of our national economy, which has already been facing devastating effects of the oil blockade imposed on January 29. This is a new blatant violation of the international law and the fundamental principles of free trade and goods and services.
According to Lopez LaRocque, there has been no progress in the ongoing talks between Cuba and the U.S.
No recent updates. We have the information you have already probably seen by our government that is the one leading the public information of that we consider a really sensitive topic, and we have always been really discreet on that. What I could say on that is to reiterate that Cuba has always been open to discussions.
She says the Cuban leadership continues to resist any demands for regime change.
That's not of discussions. The political system of our country is up to our people, is up to our population, is only for us to decide. That's not something that not Cuba, no any other country will negotiate that with the parties.
She shared data which say that in early 2026, over 80% of Cubans signed a petition in support of the revolution and against the U.S. blockade. It says between December 2025 and January 2026, Cuba held a nationwide debate on a new economic and social development program. Ambassador Lopez LaRocque says the program was strengthened through popular participation, reflecting collective resilience under external pressure. Mahiri Stewart for Nationwide News.
The Westmoreland Municipal Corporation is being called upon to explain why the contractors assigned to work on permanent housing solutions for shelter occupants have not been paid. The call is coming from local government minister Desmond McKenzie.
Only 5 of the foundations have been laid down. I want to ask the PNP control Westmoreland Municipal Corporation, why is it that the funds that have been provided to pay the contractor to undertake the work, they have not yet paid the contractor cent, although the contract has been signed by them. I find it very disgusting that at a time like this when we should be working collectively together, we are trying to gain cheap political points at the expense of persons who are suffering.
Minister McKenzie told Nationwide News that all occupants of school shelters in the parish have been relocated. He says the May 8 relocation deadline was met despite some prevailing issues. The minister also hit back at MP for Central Westmoreland, Dwayne Vaz, who has criticized the government's relocation efforts.
pleased to say that all the shelters are clear. Everybody have vacated the shelters, and especially the Petersfield one. Again, we're still having issues with at least 3 sets of people, and I've noticed where the member of parliament who have abandoned the people since Melissa has finally found his voice and has come out and have spoken. And here is somebody using the plight of people to exploit it for political purposes, complaining that the location for the houses is incomplete.
Desmond McKenzie, Local Government Minister.
The Jamaica Constabulary Force JCF says it's launched an investigation into the video of a man making threats against the administrative staff of Stella Maris Prep School in St. Andrew. The major organized crime and anti-corruption agency MOCA is also investigating the matter. The video has been making the rounds on social media. It depicts a man wearing a black mask holding what appears to be a firearm in his hand. In the video, the man is heard issuing threats to specific members of the school community. The threats are in relation to an alleged $50 million debt owed to his so-called boss. The JCF says detectives visited the institution on Thursday and conducted interviews with members of the school's administration. The force says it will continue to support the school community to ensure the safety and security of all staff and students. Members of the public with information that could assist investigators are being urged to contact the police by calling 119, Crime Stop at 311, or the nearest police station.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
The World in a Minute.
The Caribbean Public Health Agency, CARPHA, is advising its member states that the risk of infection of hantavirus in the Caribbean is low. 3 people were killed following a suspected outbreak of the infection on a cruise ship in the Atlantic Ocean. The World Health Organization, WHO, says there may have been rare human-to-human transmission of hantavirus on the ship. CARPHA says it was alerted to the development on May 3, but the agency says transmission is less likely in the Caribbean region.
U.S. President Donald Trump says the leaders of Russia and Ukraine have agreed to his request for a 3-day ceasefire and an exchange of prisoners. In a social media post, Trump says the ceasefire could be the beginning of the end of the 4-year-long war. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky confirmed the agreement. There was no immediate comment from Russian President Vladimir Putin or the Kremlin.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour. Flour and bakery mixes from Jamaica flour mills to increase by up to 6%.
We're looking at anywhere between a 4 and 6%, depending on the type of flour that you buy.
Opposition senators renews call for the NARA bill to go to Joint Select Committee.
But government senators accuse them of flip-flopping on the issue. I'm Robianne Williams.
And I'm Mahiri Stewart.
Join the Nationwide Family Club at patreon.com/Nationwide News Network. News next, the headlines at 6.
For 25 years, Digicel has been keeping Jamaica better connected. From late night calls to the texts, clicks, and moments that keep us close.
Hi, babes.
A network built in Jamaica for Jamaicans. But connection has never been just about the network. It's about the people behind every hello.
Yo, my general.
Celebrating 25 years. Digicel, powered by you, connected by us.
Transgem Highways is having a 50% Mother's Day discount on T-Tag packages. Get yours from the teller at the toll booth for only $1,250, including a $500 toll credit from May 4 to May 30, 2026. When you get your T-Tag, top up to keep using it. Choose whichever method of topping up is most convenient for you. Go through quicker with a T-Tag every time on Transjam Highways.
Sports at 5 is brought to you by Total Tools. Total Tools, every tool, every trade.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. We start with news on football. A matter in the court. The Supreme Court on Friday denied an application for injunction filed by Pivot LLC seeking to prevent Professional Football Jamaica Limited producing and broadcasting Jamaica Premier League matches. The court also ordered that costs to be paid to PFJL and further denied an oral application by Pivot attorneys for leave to appeal the decision, effectively bringing that aspect of the matter to a close. Pivot LLC is a broadcast sponsor of a Professional Football Jamaica Limited, and PFGL, led by their attorney Emil Leiber, successfully defended the injunction proceedings over the course of the hearing, which extended from Thursday into today, Friday. The matter will now proceed in the normal course, with PFGL's attorneys preparing and filing a defense to the substantive claim and seeking in the end to have the claim struck out in its entirety. Donovan White is interim chairman of Professional Football Jamaica Limited, and he says the court arrived at the correct decision, even though the process has caused considerable pain to PFGL and its sponsors.
We are therefore pleased to put this matter behind us and pivot to the successful start of the Jamaica Premier League playoff on Sunday, May 10 at the National Stadium, which we believe will be live on JPL TV and Rush Sports on the cable networks. So we look forward to delivering to our JPL fans and supporters right across Jamaica and across the Caribbean quality football for the JPL playoffs.
That's Donovan White, interim chairman of Professional Football Jamaica Limited. Former national coach of the women's football team, Charlie Edwards, says the Jamaica Football Federation is rewarding failure after it reappoints Rudolph Speed to take charge of the Jamaica team to the Unity Cup over in England at the end of the month. Charlie Edwards was speaking on Nationwide on Thursday, and he says the Cavalier head honcho, his fingerprint is all over the failure, and the JFF, by reappointing him as a coach of the national team, is literally awarding failure.
We're talking about Rudolph Speed. He was a part of McLaren appointment. He became advisor to McLaren. He went off with his own team and they failed. Now, we take it even back a little bit more, where he was instrumental in removing Tapper Whitmore. And today, Tapper Whitmore still boasts a better record than these guys, by far. And I'm not saying we should go back there, or we shouldn't, but the point is that he has failed in many ways. And we are indeed rewarding failure with another try. We keep rewarding failure, and we need to stop and look at what we're doing.
Charlie Edwards, and he says instead of trying to appoint a coach at the moment, the JFF probably should have gone into looking back at why the team failed to qualify for the World Cup and try to right the wrong.
The president has to take responsibility for a lot of what has happened. And I think they should be in dialogue right now, looking at the whole thing and doing a post-mortem. Look at what went wrong and how we can put it right. Being accountable doesn't mean that we want to fire you or kick you out or anything like that. We need to see a program that can take us forward. If not, then if they can't put a program to go forward, then they maybe need to step down.
Yeah, that's Charlie Edwards, former national coach of the women's senior team. European giants Real Madrid, they've announced that they fined the Frenchman Aurélien Tchouameni and the Uruguayan Freddy Valverde 500,000 euros each after a training ground clash that left Freddie needing some hospital treatment. The club did not impose any sporting sanctions on the two players, saying the fine thereby concludes the internal procedure launched against them. Valverde will be out for 2 weeks, and because of that, he's going to be missing the big Clásico this weekend at Camp Nou. Tchouameni was in training this week and expect to feature against FC Barcelona, who are holding a massive lead over the Real Madrid team, and Fede Valverde is going to be out for 2 weeks, they say. Madrid said both players expressed their complete remorse for what happened and apologized to each other while taking part in a club investigation. According to reports, the two players had a fight on Wednesday during training, and the argument continued on Thursday during and after the session. Spanish media is reporting that Fede Valverde refused to shake Tchouaméni's hand after later fouled him in Thursday training session. The pair scrapping afterwards in the dressing room when the injury occurred. In fact, Fede Valverde's account of the incident today on Friday said he fell and hit his head on a table in the dressing room, and he didn't lay hand on Tchouaméni. Tchouaméni said he didn't lay on Fede Valverde either. All right, defending champions Jamalco will be aiming to create history on Saturday when they face upsetters A in the final of the Supreme Ventures Major League Netball competition. And the game will be played at the Stadium Court. A victory for Jamalco would see them becoming the first team to capture back-to-back title in the competition's short history under its new format, adding extra significance to what is expected to be a thrilling contest. Head coach of the Jamalco team, Winston Scrappy Never, says his team is fully prepared for the challenge ahead and is focused on winning back the title.
The players upbeat, they're ready for the match, because if you are a defending champion and you don't ready, then it would make sense. So we have training session last night. It was good. Everybody was happy and ready to go in. But we know we have our opponent a very good team, and so we have to pay that respect. Because when you respect people, you get to them a little bit better than when you listen. So the training session was all about set play. Training session was all about looking at their weakness, looking at their strength, and try their endeavor best on the day to execute whatever we plan.
Yeah, and the training also involved them targeting specific upsetters A players to sort of normalize their influence in the game.
They have a very good shooter from Hannigan here. They have Paula Thompson that definitely used to play for Jamalco. They have Petal Simit that used to play for Jamalco as well. So, we know those three players very, very well. And if we allow them, then therefore we're going to find ourselves in trouble if we allow them to just play and do whatever they want to do. We talked about those players last night, and we want to keep them in check.
That's Winston Nevers, head coach of the Jamalco team. The Major League Final will headline an exciting day of championship action across several divisions. And we'll tell you about those other games when we come back at 6:05 in our main sportscast with Alex Weeby.
Sports at 5 was brought to you by Total Tools. Total Tools, every tool, every trade.
For all your custom framing, printing, graphic design, and purchase of art, Make It Frame Art Jamaica Limited, serving you for over 40 years. The time by Frame Art Jamaica is
5:32.
For 25 years, Digicel has been keeping Jamaica better connected. From late night calls to the texts, clicks, and moments that keep us close.
Hi, babes.
A network built in Jamaica for Jamaicans. But connection has never been just about the network. It's about the people behind every hello.
Yo, my general.
Celebrating 25 years. Digicel, powered by you, connected by us.
For all your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. They stock a wide variety of electrical supplies, including plugs, switches, panel boards, and conduits, plus energy-saving fixtures. ABC Electrical Sales stocks brands like GE, Siemens, Philips, Cutler Hammer, and Allen Bradley. They also offer free island-wide delivery just to suit your needs. Visit them at Shop 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10, or call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in the electrical business.
For 25 years, Digicel has been keeping Jamaica better connected. From late night calls to the texts, clicks, and moments that keep us close.
Hi, babes.
A network built in Jamaica for Jamaicans. But connection has never been just about the network. It's about the people behind every hello.
Yo, my general.
Celebrating 25 years. Digicel, powered by you, connected by us.
On Wednesday, May 13, join Cliff Hughes online as we go live on location at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel for the Service Excellence Conference 2026. From 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., we'll bring you live coverage, hear from public sector leaders, disaster risk experts, and key stakeholders as we discuss how ministries, departments, and agencies deliver services during both normal operations and in times of crisis. That's a live broadcast of the Service Excellence Conference 2026 during Cliff Hughes online from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel. This broadcast is brought to you by the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service.
Every day, Jamaicans have something to say. In the group chats, on social media, in the streets, there's a place where it all comes together. The comment section. This is not a lecture. This is not a call-in show. This is the hottest topics of the day, filtered through real opinions, real WhatsApp messages, real voice notes, real reactions. You agree, disagree, sound off, text it, voice note it, debate it. Comments section, Monday to Friday from 7 to 7:30 p.m. only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media.
Good afternoon, listeners, viewers. Welcome. It's 5:35, time for the cover story. I am your host today, Siobhan Campbell. Before we get into matters, remember that if you're interested in next week, Monday, you will get exclusive access to Nationwide's production meetings, which are quite spicy indeed. That's only if you join the Nationwide Family Club, and you could get a discount if you join today. That's 20% off when you sign up for a full year, and you get exclusive content, other things such as behind the scenes access and other member-only perks. I'm actually interested to see how this is going to play out to come Monday afternoon. Remember, the Nationwide Family Club is at patreon.com/Nationwide News Network. So come on, be a part of the family. But on to the business of the day, listeners. The debate over the National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority, that's NARA, continues in the Senate. It is still ongoing as we speak. The NARA bill aims to establish a central authority to accelerate post-Hurricane Melissa reconstruction. The bill, which has drawn intense scrutiny in the lower house, is expected to pass along party lines later this evening. The government is relying on NARA to deliver meaningful benefits for communities heavily impacted by Hurricane Melissa. It's also intended to act as a foundation for better infrastructure, placing the country on a strong footing to realizing significant economic growth. However, opposition Senator Ramon Small Ferguson, while supporting the stated objectives of the bill, questioned its ability to deliver.
And that's why, Mr. President, I find it unfortunate, among other things, that despite the bill being amended prior to being retabled in that other place, and further amended during committee in that other place, there remains no clear, defined, and enshrined statement of the objects of the legislation in the operative provisions of the bill. Nothing placing Hurricane Melissa and the people most affected by Hurricane Melissa at the center of the legislation.
That's Ramon Small Ferguson, opposition senator. Well, Government Senator Keith Duncan hit back, stating that NARA will be the uplift that Jamaica desperately needs.
Jamaica is positioned for further investment to become the logistics hub of the Americas. Jamaica is primed for investment. Global capital is looking for a home, Mr. President. Our job is to build the legal architecture that says Jamaica is ready, the pathway is clear, and our project will be executed at speed and without having to navigate a bureaucratic maze.
And leader of opposition business in the Senate, Donna Scott Motley, also weighed in, and she chided the government for failing to listen to critical feedback.
In other words, you have said on numerous occasions, including not so long ago, that you were elected to govern, and govern you will. There is never any space or place for the views of the people unless it's convenient for you to do that. And you know why you didn't listen? Because if it comes from the opposition or somebody who is not a part of your cheering gallery, you never hear.
That's Opposition Senator Donna Scott Motley. And Government Senator Auburn Hill argued the criticisms leveled by the opposition make it clear that they've not properly read the bill. Well, Senator Hill joins us now to discuss further. Good afternoon, Senator Hill.
Hi, good afternoon, sir. Good to hear you again.
Good afternoon to you, sir. It's 5:39. I suspect the bill debate will go on for a few more minutes, probably well into the evening.
Sinclair is on his feet, and yes, probably a few more, one or two more speakers are left to come. We'll see.
But when it comes to the actual vote, I suspect it will go along party lines as it did in the lower house. So the real question, Senator Hill, is the bill having passed in the upper house, what are the next steps?
The next steps would be, of course, that it gets moved to the Governor General in due course, and the administrative arrangements by Parliament are carried forth, and then in time the Governor General signs the bill, becomes it's gazetted and becomes law.
And I mean, I expect that considering the pace at which the government is trying to get this legislation through to respond to the needs of those impacted by Hurricane Melissa, as well as the wider economic impact, that there is an intent to fast-track this, or fast-track the entity, so to speak, and get it on its footing as soon as possible. What kind of time frame are we looking at?
I know, for instance, from sitting in cabinet, that there is a short list of about 4 or 5 persons that are being considered for the CEO job. Clearly, to set up an entity like this, you have to have a chief executive officer. So I suspect that will be the next choice by the cabinet office and the prime minister. But as we look at this, and I listen to the conversations, criticisms largely from the other side, they would seem to suggest that speed and urgency are not at all important. What is most important is that you follow some process, a process incidentally that we have in the public procurement arrangement and PIMS and all that stuff that we know will can take you between 12 and 24 months to even get a decision as to if you're going to do a project or not. Clearly, we couldn't wait on that, and so NARA has been structured in the way it has been in order to get projects done, and most likely on an EPC build arrangement with big contractors, and they having local subcontractors to work with them.
So I don't know if you quite answered the question, though, Minister. I will ask, in your estimation, when should we expect to see the first projects essentially implemented by NARA?
The reason why I couldn't answer it directly, because the truth is, as I said, answer the first part. The main part is you have to have a CEO.
Yes.
A CEO has to pull the staff together. He's going to have to, or her, has to advertise for EPC contractors from around the world who might want to bid. There is a process. The reason why we're going to get this done fast, because we know how long that could take. I don't know that the CEO is going to be able to go to bid or offer EPC contracts in less than a 6 to 9 month period. It takes time. And it's a lot of money, so we also have to do it the right way.
And speaking of doing it the right way, Minister, you've heard the criticisms in the lower house, and those criticisms continued into the upper house. And there are those outside of government who have also been quite critical. Despite where we've reached in terms of the governance and fiscal arrangements of the country, it seems there are many still nervous about this kind of authority being put in place with this kind of power to essentially sidestep the bureaucracy as it exists. How do you respond to those criticisms?
You know, part of it is a response I've given before. People have become used to the 15-stage arrangement to get anything done. And if you vary from that, you get back to where people who wrote those processes, which I've said publicly, seem to have been written by people who thought that every single Jamaican is a thief. We have gone through that. This government has gone through COVID. We've gone through Beryl. We've gone through a lot of issues that we had to take care of. And we know, I chair the Infrastructure Committee of Cabinet, where projects 100 million and over, used to be 60 million, come there. And I tell you, it's Mr. Campbell, right? It's Siobhan?
Yes.
Siobhan, when you look at what happens there, it goes through a committee in the ministry, then it has to go through another subcommittee in the ministry, then it goes to PPC, then it goes back because of something, and that could take you between 12 and 24 months to even get to the Infrastructure Committee of Cabinet, where we review these projects and then make a recommendation to Cabinet, which is usually decided on the same day. So we know that that system cannot work. So when I look at what we've done with NARA, and today in my speech I went over that, I looked at the beginning part, because you want to say, all right, we know what we're doing in projects. And the way we have put in oversight and monitoring is that, I'm going to read this part.
Mister, before you get into that, we're actually up on a break, so please stay with me. I will allow you to continue, so just please stay with me when we get back from the break.
Visit Marshall's Pharmacy, Greater Portmore, for all your prescription needs, gifts, personal care, household, and stationery items. The temperature by Marshall's Pharmacy, Greater Portmore is...
It's 30 degrees Celsius here in the capital city, Kingston, and it's 30 out west in Montego Bay.
Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, is a financial reporting firm that delivers accounting and compliance services on time. Call us today at 876-908-0486-7. Email us at clientservices@cocnjamaica.com or visit our website at www.cocnjamaica.com. COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
Digicel makes it easy. Surprise mom with a new Samsung device starting as low as $12,000 plus tax. Visit your nearest Digicel store today. Digicel, powered by you, connected by us.
Welcome back, listeners, viewers, to the cover story. We are discussing the National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority bill. That's the NARA. The Senate debate on the bill is still ongoing as we speak, but the Minister of Industry, Investment and Commerce, that's Senator Albin Hill, who delivered his own presentation earlier this day, has actually stepped out just to speak with us in terms of next steps, in terms of getting the authority off the ground. So, Senator, you were speaking about the actual arrangements for oversight for NARA. Please, go ahead.
Right. You hear the criticisms from the opposition, from some NGOs that are wherever they are aligned, but generally not with government. And what I did was I looked at the bill again, Siobhan. I went to clause 17. The Cabinet shall cause to be issued to the authority an official list of approved reconstruction and resilience projects and designated strategic investment projects. In other words, there are two categories, and both are covered there. Then the authority must develop projects, programs, and deals, and so on. But the key thing after that is programs and plans for approved reconstruction and resilience projects shall not be implemented without the prior approval of Cabinet. Now, who's Cabinet? Cabinet is made up of the Prime Minister can put in 2 senators, has to put in 2 senators by law, or could put in as many as 4 by choice. But the rest, all the rest of Cabinet people, including the Chairman of Cabinet, the Prime Minister, have to be elected by the people. Now, there is no greater democracy than the direct representatives of the people who are elected by the people and the people of Jamaica to form the government, to be the ones who say, these are the projects that NARA is going to do. In other words, it's not a capriciousness by the CEO or even the minister. Then we go to the back end. All right, so they've been given projects to do. And what have they done? The requirement is right now government bodies are audited by the Auditor General. And if they're so designated to be audited by the Auditor General, then it is the Auditor General who must decide that there is, they can't, or her, in this case she, doesn't have enough staff to do the work, which I heard on, I think, your station this morning, that she is saying that. So what we saw that coming, and what we did in this law, in clauses 9, 10, and 11, you can see there, where we've said, look, there must be two set of auditors. One will naturally be the Auditor General of the country, because she or he, the Auditor General position is enshrined in the Constitution, and they have that constitutional right. But in addition to that, we said that there must be an independent external auditor, and both of them must have access to the data and the financial data and information within NARA at all times, not sometimes, at all times. So then we have two sets of auditors. The external auditor must follow the principles of GAAP, that's general accounting principles, which are the general ones used in the United States. IFRS is used elsewhere. So we were very particular that the reporting must be done, and incidentally, the auditors must go in and finish their work within 4 months after the end of the fiscal year of NARA. So at the front end, Cabinet sees what's going to go on, and right now, Cabinet sees what goes on, because I chair the Infrastructure Committee. We see it, Cabinet approves it, and off you go. That's the only time they can issue a contract. So Cabinet, that same body, elected by the people, chaired by the Prime Minister, will make those same decisions. So not having good oversight is not true, and the monitoring and reporting is absolutely top class, as would be done by any firm on any major stock exchange.
But Minister, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think
I'm done with that.
But I think therein lies the problem. I'm not suggesting that this is almost a deliberate slight, but it feels to me that when it comes to matters of oversight of almost any government entity, when it reports specifically to the Cabinet, the opposition has a problem with that. They feel that there should be some element of reporting to them as members of Parliament.
You know, I'm glad while you stopped me. The next, after that, those audit reports come out, is the minister is obliged to send the reports, not just the reports, but the data and the auditor's opinions to, and it's named in the bill, the lower house and the Senate. So all representatives from both sides of the aisle get to see the data. So there is no issue there about not being reporting. But you know, the truth is, Siobhan, and if I'm sure you'll get the clip of my speech. I went into quite extensive speech to say today that the PNP seems to believe that they have a God-given right to rule, and yet it's the people of Jamaica who elect the government who must rule. And for the last 3 elections, they elected the Jamaica Labour Party, led by the most Honourable Andrew Honest. And that is a fact of life.
And is that how you see it, Minister?
Have consequences.
And is that how you see it, Minister? Because as I said, I listened to the presentations both in the upper and lower house, and I realized that a salient point was the request for oversight always impinged on a body in which the opposition took part. Is that how you see it?
There are sometimes when that happens. For instance, JAMROC, which is the oversight committee that is going to be chaired by Professor John Blair Henry. Is it John? I know Blair is the second name. Peter Blair Henry, Professor Peter Blair Henry from Stanford, named already by the Prime Minister. He will chair that. If opposition will have a member on that oversight JAMROC committee. So yes, they're there for that. But they're not in Cabinet. In Cabinet, the people who voted for a new or repeating government said that the Cabinet must be formed by the Jamaica Labour Party. That's not a privilege the PNP has, but they do share the oversight responsibility, both at the Jamrock Oversight Committee and then, of course, in Parliament when the reports come. They can then ask anybody, and the Prime Minister, as the Minister, is responsible to Parliament every single week, unless he's not in the country.
Minister, do you believe then, based on what you have seen in terms of the debate over the bill, and I see the calls there made in civil society, do you believe that there is some wider controversy or wider rift in terms of support for the NARA legislation, or do you see it as some kind of almost attempt to torpedo something that is essentially trying to do its best for the Jamaican people?
Well, we've seen that before. When we were in opposition, I remember when Dr. Bert Stein and subsequently Dr. Umar Ramakrishna from the IMF came to the program. They asked us every single time I was in that meeting as the chairman of the then leader of the opposition, now Prime Minister, of his economic council, will you support the IMF program if you come to government? Ad nauseum, every single time. We said yes, we not only support it, as you now know, we really excelled at it, and then so far did we excel that this time they didn't ask us to make a request after Melissa. They brought us a package of financing, as you know, the $6.5 billion US. So, but we then, because I remember Andrew Holness at the time saying, we will not oppose this package. It's a national project. We are going to support it. Bills came to us sometimes with minutes, hours, just a few hours to go. We read them, and they went to Parliament and the Senate and passed them. That's not the attitude that we've seen. On the crime issue, you've seen what they've done. NIDS, they say they like lawfare. And so now Peter Bunting used to mock us when he was the leader of opposition business in the Senate. Where's the crime bill? Where's the crime bill? Well, the last 3 years, 9% down in crime, 19% down in crime, 43% last year. They don't even mention crime anymore, never mind mock us. So we know how to go about managing this. It's part of the process. We believe that they are clearly belligerent, and we're going to have to do the business of the people, because you know what? They're the same ones. They just said, people in Westmoreland, in today's debate and in the lower house, people in Westmoreland and St. Elizabeth, I haven't been able to get anything out of you for the past 6-7 months. And yet they're saying to us, delay NARA, put it through Joint Select Committee, which is another delay tactic. And so we're now saying no, because they're the same ones that are going to say to us, you haven't performed. We know we have to perform. We know that there are there are structures in place to make sure transparency and accountability are there. And I know that the Senate is prepared to pass it this evening.
Understood. But Minister, before you go, apart from the, as you call it, the lawfare and the legislative process around the NARA bill, what will be the guiding principle behind the Cabinet's approval of specific projects in terms of what will be the focus? Where will you decide that this should be put up first versus what should come later? What is going to be the focus?
Let me pick up a few here. Clearly, the Prime Minister is in pole position in that he is the Prime Minister, B, the Chairman of Cabinet, and C, the Minister responsible for NARA. So we will come in and discuss. For instance, somebody is going to say, and I'm going to give you a couple of for instance so you understand how this will make. Somebody will say, look, if Melissa had come to Kingston, the whole place would have been denuded, and we couldn't run the country because KPH would probably be gone, the port would be gone, and so we have to look and say, part of the discussion we're having now is we're on the northeast coast, around the bend from where the hurricane normally hits. Do we put a deep water port? Luckily, the water over there is deep. So we're looking at putting a port in that area. We have to look at moving Black River and Falmouth from right near to the sea. Do we move it 3 kilometers in, 4 kilometers in? How do we handle the water from the sea? What barriers do we put in? That would be another project. The road from Williamsfield in Manchester to Negril has to be built because we have to develop the South Coast. If we're going to go to Black River, it has to go to a higher portion of the bridge and the morass. So it's a bigger bridge than we had planned, and it must go to Negril. All those are three things, and at the same time, we have to build KPH. It's necessary. Which one of the four are we going to do? Are we going to do two? Do we have enough money and capacity in EPC contracts? And if we do three of them, will the road be a problem as we try to fix the other two projects? So those are considerations, and that's why Cabinet is there. Cabinet, of course, has the privilege of calling in whichever experts that we need to call in to get advice and that before we make the decision. So that's how without giving away any particular secrets from Cabinet, that's how that will generally work, and then we come down to decisions.
That is Minister of Industry, Investment and Commerce, Senator Aubin Hill. I assume you'll be heading back to the Senate now,
I am
Minister?
going right back in now, and thank you so much for having me on, and thanks to your listeners.
Have a good afternoon, Minister. The headlines are next, listeners. Please stay with us, and then we're back here at 6:25.
The time brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy is...
It's a minute after 6.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening with the headlines at 6. I'm Mahiri Stewart. Jamaicans should expect a price increase of up to 6% for flour and some bakery mixes from Jamaica Flour Mills Limited. The increase is set to take effect on Monday, May 18. Managing Director of Jamaica Flour Mills, Archie Williams, gave the update on Nationwide's front page on Friday. The company's managing director says the cost increase is largely due to package inflation.
We have managed to absorb a lot of our costs. We have a very robust hedging strategy. We've taken a look at it and we've tried to dampen as much as we can. And we're looking at anywhere between a 4 and 6% depending on the type of flour that you buy and the mixes. When I look at mixes, some of our cake mixes, Festival, a lot of that cost is driven by increased packaging. The facilities that we buy from have raised their prices more aggressively than we have.
Jamaica Flour Mills says the move is in response to global market conditions and a surge in commodity prices. Williams notes the cost to import wheat from the United States has increased by 26%.
Since the 5th of January, we've seen an uptick of 13 to 15%, depending on what wheat type, mostly spurred on by the issue in the Middle East. We've also seen a large increase on our freight costs. Obviously, we bring our wheat in from the United States using ADM's global supply chain, and we've seen an uptick of 26% on the cost of bringing in vessels. And again, all of that is due to rising fuel costs.
Archie Williams, Managing Director of Jamaica Flour Mills. The government and opposition are squaring off as the debate over the highly anticipated National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority, NARA, continues in the Senate. The NARA bill aims to establish a central authority to accelerate post-Hurricane Melissa reconstruction. Opposition Senator Ramon Small Ferguson, while supporting the stated objectives of the bill, questioned its ability to deliver.
And that's why, Mr. President, I find it unfortunate, among other things, that despite the bill being amended prior to being retabled in that other place, and further amended during committee in that other place, there remains no clear, defined, and enshrined statement of the objects of the legislation in the operative provisions of the bill. Right? Nothing placing Hurricane Melissa and the people most affected by Hurricane Melissa at the center of the legislation.
Ramon Small Ferguson, opposition senator. Government Senator Keith Duncan hit back, stating that NARA will be the uplifting that Jamaica desperately needs.
Jamaica is positioned for further investment to become the logistics hub of the Americas. Jamaica is primed for investment. Global capital is looking for a home, Mr. President. Our job is to build the legal architecture that says Jamaica is ready, the pathway is clear, and our project will be executed at speed and without having to navigate a bureaucratic maze.
Keith Duncan, government senator, leader of opposition business in the Senate, Donna Scott Motley, chided the government for failing to listen to critical feedback.
In other words, you have said on numerous occasions, including not so long ago, that you were elected to govern, and govern you will. There is never any space or place for the views of the people unless it's convenient for you to do that. And you know why you didn't listen? Because if it comes from the opposition or somebody who is not a part of your cheering gallery, you never hear.
Donna Scott Motley, leader of the opposition in the Senate, and government senator Aubin Hill argued the criticisms leveled by the opposition make it clear that they have not properly read the bill.
The reason why I'm going down this road because there's a lot of discussion about people having whole heap of power, spend whole heap of hundreds of billions of dollars, and they don't seem to be accountable, and them trying to avoid accountability and transparency. Nonsense, Mr. President. So, Section 17, I'm going to read the bill because I suspect much of what I've heard, they haven't read the bill or they've forgotten it if they read it.
Aubin Hill, government senator. Cuban ambassador to Jamaica, Tania Lopez LaRocque, says her government will not acquiesce to regime change, in its talk with the U.S. government. In March, Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel publicly acknowledged that his government had been holding secretive talks with the U.S. for weeks as Trump intensified his pressure campaign against the regime. Following the U.S.'s capture of Venezuela, President Nicolas Maduro, President Trump said Cuba was next for regime change. According to the ambassador, there has been no progress in the ongoing talks between the two countries.
No recent updates. We have the information you have already probably seen by our government that is the one leading the public information of that we consider a really sensitive topic. And we have always been really discreet on that. What I could say on that is to reiterate that Cuba has always been open to discussions.
She says the Cuban leadership continues to resist any demands for regime change.
That's not of discussions. The political system of our country is up to our people, is up to our population, is only for us to decide. That's not something that no Cuba, no any other country will negotiate that with third parties.
Tania Lopez LaRocque, Cuban ambassador to Jamaica. The Westmoreland Municipal Corporation is being called upon to explain why the contractors assigned to work on permanent housing solutions for shelter occupants have not been paid. The call is coming from local government minister Desmond McKenzie.
Only 5 of the foundations have been laid down. I want to ask the PNP control Westmoreland Municipal Corporation, why is it that the funds that have been provided to pay the contractor to undertake the work, they have not yet paid the contractor cent, although the contract has been signed by them. I find it very disgusting that at a time like this when we should be working collectively together, we are trying to gain cheap political points at the expense of persons who are suffering.
Minister McKenzie told Nationwide News that all occupants of school shelters in the parish have been relocated. He says the May 8 relocation deadline was met despite some prevailing issues. The minister also hit back at MP for Central Westmoreland, Dwayne Vaz, who has criticized the government's relocation efforts.
Pleased to say that all the shelters are clear. Everybody have vacated the shelters, and especially the Petersfield one. Again, we're still having issues with at least 3 sets of people, and I've noticed where the member of parliament who have abandoned the people. since Melissa has finally found his voice and has come out and has spoken, and here is somebody using the plight of people to exploit it for political purposes, complaining that the location for the houses is incomplete.
Desmond McKenzie, local government minister. In a recent media interview, MP Vaz opined that the new location assigned to the shelter occupants was not fit for accommodation. He said reports indicate that many occupants have been left to prepare the facilities themselves under the deplorable conditions. Those are the headlines at 6. I'm Mahiri Stewart. Sports is next.
For all your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. They stock a wide variety of electrical supplies including plugs, switches, panel boards and conduits, plus energy-saving fixtures. ABC Electrical Sales stocks brands like GE, Siemens, Philips, Cutler Hammer, and Allen Bradley. They also offer free island-wide delivery just to suit your needs. Visit them at Shop 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10, or call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in the electrical business.
Hey yo, listen up. Don't wait for the symptoms start show. HIV test free. Make sure you know. Yo. Me take me test. Me get the news. Me take my meds. We can't lose. Family there, support there too. We strong, we bold life, I live right through. Live bold, test early. Test the HIV. Know your status move surely. Me take me test. Me get the news. Me take my meds. We can't lose. Live bold, free testing is available at health centers island-wide. A message by the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Attention bargain hunters and DIY lovers. Get ready for the Sherwin-Williams yard sale happening May 8 and 9, starting at 9 a.m. sharp. Location, Sherwin-Williams head office, White Marl, St. Catherine. We're clearing out the warehouse at unbelievable discounts. Perfect for your next home improvement project, refresh, or creative makeover. From quality paints to great finds, this is your chance to save big on trusted Sherwin-Williams products. Doors open at 9 a.m., so come early, May 8 and 9. Sherwin-Williams yard sale. Great products, great prices, don't miss it.
The Philharmonic Orchestra of Jamaica presents Encore, a harmonic reawakening, captivating music from the classical masters, movies, and our homeland. Saturday, May 16 and Sunday, May 17 at the Little Theatre. Conductor Franklin E. Halliburton, guest soloist Sashika Brown. Tickets $5,000 pre-sold, $6,000 at the gate. Reserved box seats $7,500. Tickets at Fontana Pharmacy, Waterloo, and Sovereign, and the Music Mart. The Philharmonic Orchestra of Jamaica in concert, May 16 and 17 at the Little Theatre.
We can light up your world with the rays of the sun, putting pure energy in the palm of your hand.
For over 20 years, Fosrich has been putting a world of energy in your hands. Now we bring you big savings with our line of solar energy products and LED lighting. Financing now available for all your home and commercial retrofit projects. Consult with our in-house staff or certified professional engineers for all your electrical needs. Fosrich Lifestyle. It's electric. Fosrich, your energy world.
For 25 years, Digicel has been keeping Jamaica better connected. From late night calls to the texts, clicks, and moments that keep us close. Celebrating 25 years. Digicel, powered by you, connected by us.
Good evening with your sports report. I'm Alric Swaby. We kick things off with some football as the Supreme Court on Friday denied an application for injunction filed by Pivot LLC seeking to prevent PFJL producing and broadcasting the Jamaica Premier League. The court also ordered that costs be paid to PFJL and further denied an oral application by Pivot's attorney for leave to appeal the decision, effectively bringing that aspect of the matter to a close. Pivot LLC is a broadcast sponsor of PFJL. PFJL, led by attorney Emil Leiber, successfully defended the injunction proceedings over the course of the hearing, which extended from Thursday and brought over into Friday. The matter will now proceed in the normal course, with PFJL's attorney preparing and filing a defense to the substantive claim and seeking to have the claim struck out in its entirety. Donovan White is interim chairman of PFJL, and he says the court arrived at the correct decision, though the whole process has caused considerable pain with their sponsors.
We are therefore pleased to put this matter behind us and pivot to the successful start of the Jamaica Premier League playoff on Sunday, May 10 at the National Stadium, which we believe will be live on JPL TV and Rush Sports on the cable networks. So we look forward to delivering to our JPL fans and supporters right across Jamaica and across the Caribbean quality football for the JPL playoffs.
Donovan White. The former head coach of the Jamaica National Senior Women's Football Team, Charlie Edwards, says the Jamaica Football Federation is rewarding failure by reappointing Rudolph Speed head coach of the team, even on an interim basis. Speed was named on Tuesday to lead the team in the Unity Cup in England and at the end of the month. However, Edwards says the Cavalier head coach fingerprint is all over the failed World Cup campaign and should not be given the opportunity to be in charge.
The gentleman in particular that we're talking about, Rudolph Speed, he was a part of McLaren appointment. He became advisor to McLaren. He went off with his own team and they failed. Now, we take it even back a little bit more, where he was instrumental in removing Tapper Whitmore. And today, Tapper Whitmore still boasts a better record than these guys, by far. And I'm not saying we should go back there, or we shouldn't, but the point is that he has failed in many ways. And we are indeed rewarding failure with another try. We keep rewarding failure, and we need to stop and look at what we're doing.
Edwards says the Federation should instead be doing a post-mortem on what went wrong during the campaign with the view of addressing the issues and righting the wrongs.
The president has to take responsibility for a lot of what has happened. And I think they should be in dialogue right now, looking at the whole thing and doing a post-mortem. Look at what went wrong and how we can put it right. Being accountable doesn't mean that we want to fire you or kick you out or anything like that. We need to see a program that can take us forward. If not, then if they can't put a program to go forward, then they maybe need to step down.
Now, Jamaica will play India on May 27 before facing the winners of the Nigeria-Zimbabwe clash in the final on May 30 at Charlton Valley Stadium. And at second place, Manchester City will continue their pursuit of league leaders Arsenal when they host Brentford at the Etihad Stadium on Saturday in a crucial English Premier League showdown. City enter the encounter on 71 points from 34 matches and will be aiming to reduce the deficit behind Arsenal, who currently lead the standings on 36 points. Pep Guardiola's side now know that anything less than a victory could further dent their hopes of reclaiming the league title as the season heads into its decisive stretch. At Anfield, fourth-placed Liverpool will welcome Chelsea in another high-profile fixture. Liverpool are currently on 58 points, level with Aston Villa, but the Reds occupy fourth position courtesy of a superior goal difference. Such men will be eager to strengthen their grip on the UEFA Champions League qualification spot with a strong performance at home. Chelsea, however, will be looking to spoil Liverpool's plans as they continue their own push for a higher finish in the table. In other fixtures, Brighton take on Wolverhampton Wanderers, while Fulham face Bournemouth. Elsewhere, Sunderland are set to meet Manchester United. Now to some track and field, as a $3 million sponsorship from Scotia Bank Jamaica will bolster this year's run for Mom 5K, with funds supporting programs for teen mothers through the Women's Center of Jamaica Foundation. The sponsorship was officially announced on Friday at Scotia Center in downtown Kingston, where the bank's president presented the check to Dr. Lawrence Scott, organizer of Run for Mom 5K, ahead of the Mother's Day event. Scotiabank has also named title sponsors of the annual race, which is expected to attract hundreds of participants in support of young mothers seeking educational and personal development opportunities. Dr. Scott welcomed the partnership, describing the sponsorship as a significant boost for the initiative and the women and girls who will benefit from the proceeds.
This is the beginning of a conversation, the beginning of a movement towards strengthening our mothers, particularly our young mothers, our vulnerable mothers, strengthening and supporting our mothers in a long and ongoing tradition of nation building, of strengthening Jamaica.
Now to netball, as defending champions Jamaica will be aiming to create history on Saturday when they face upsetters A in the final of the Supreme Ventures Major League Netball competition at the stadium court. A victory for Jamaica will see them become the first team to capture back-to-back titles in the competition's short history, adding extra significance to what is expected to be a thrilling championship showdown. Head coach of Jamaica, Winston Nevers, says his team is fully prepared for the challenge ahead of and is focused on retaining the crown.
The players upbeat. They're ready for the match because if you are a defending champion and you don't ready, then it would make sense. So we have training session last night. It was good. Everybody was happy and ready to go in. But we know our opponent is a very good team, and so we have to pay that respect. Because when you respect people, you get to them a little bit better than when you listen. So the training session was all about set play. Training session was all about looking at their weakness, looking at their strength, and try their head never best on the day to execute whatever we plan.
Nevers noted that his players have been training intensely for the encounter and revealed that the team will be targeting specific players within the upsetters lineup in an effort to limit their influence on the game.
They have a very good shooter from Hanik Garden here. They have Paula Thompson that definitely used to play for Jamaica. They have Petal Simit that used to play for Jamaica as well. So, we know those three players very, very well. And if we allow them, then therefore we're going to find ourselves in trouble if we allow them to just play and do whatever they want to do. We talked about those players last night, and we want to keep them in check.
Winston Nevers, I'm Alex Raby, and that's your sports.
If you've ever called in, shared your story, or got help on this show, then you're already family. Now make it official. Join the nationwide 90 FM Family Club today on Patreon.
Enough power tool, big to small. Jack on my figure, dig the wall.
Our total tools.
Weed whacker figure, trim the lawn. We have everything a job demand.
Total tools.
We rent them, sell them, and fix them. Also give Total Tools a call. When I say home improvement, landscape construction, a Total Tools are your option. Home improvement, landscape construction, Total Tools are your option. Total Tools, located at 102 Main Street, Ocho Rios, 34 Slive Road, Kingston.
And lot C6 Jacksaw, Sentence Bay. Call us today.
For 25 years, Digicel has been keeping Jamaica better connected. From late night calls to the texts, clicks, and moments that keep us close. Celebrating 25 years. Digicel, powered by you, connected by us.
Not a mercy. This one is very classic, dedicated to all the schoolers who are taking beats.
If you've ever struggled to pass an exam, then you'll know that students today are under great pressure to get good grades and secure qualification needed to move on to higher education. The problem is that too many students are struggling alone and could really benefit from connecting with hardworking teachers and other bright students in other parts of the country and the region. Join me, Dennis Brooks, this and every Friday evening from 8 to 9, with a repeat on Saturday morning from 8 to 9. For the A-Team, a study group on radio, my team of teachers, students, and experts will break down the syllabus, giving you information, tips, and past paper questions that will help you get top grades in your upcoming exams. Follow us on Facebook Live and on Twitter and be a part of the community. It's the A-Team. Fridays at 8 p.m. with a repeat at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. It's your free extra class on radio and social media. And it's right here on Nationwide 90 FM, the revolution in media.
Every day, Jamaicans have something to say. In the group chats, on social media, in the streets, there's a place where it all comes together. The comment section. This is not a lecture. This is not a call-in show. This is the hottest topics of the day, filtered through real opinions, real WhatsApp messages, real voice notes, real reactions. You agree, disagree, sound off, text it, voice note it, debate it. Comments section, Monday to Friday from 7 to 7:30 p.m. only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media.
Ting loud and wicked every Saturday 3 to 5 p.m. with Outside with Pepita. Loan vibes, loan laughs, and loan entertainment. Come on the road with we. Cause when we say Outside with Pepita, we're there all over Jamaica. Anyway, check them out. We're there. We're in on the business. Stay tuned in for prizes, surprises, giveaways, guest artists, and enough more. But hold on there. We forget to big up my DJ. DJ Jerome, the shell boss, I'm gonna make it bust to pew pew with the baddest, and latest tunes. So look out for Outside with Pepita. We might be coming to a town near you. You heard it here first. Outside with Pepita, Saturdays 3 to 5 p.m. on Nationwide 90 FM. The new revolution in media. Jamaica, lock it in and don't miss a thing.
Good evening, listeners. Welcome back. It's time for the nation's business. Again, I'm your host, Siobhan Campbell, and we are going to touch on a very, very evocative subject this afternoon, and that is the importation of labor. Managing Director of the Make Your Mark Group, that's Dr. Jacqueline Coke Lloyd, is urging Jamaicans to embrace the importation of skilled labor. She made the call while addressing the 16th Middle Managers Conference at the Pegasus Hotel in New Kingston on Wednesday. Jamaica continues to maintain impressive unemployment levels of 3.3%. That's within the realm of what is known as full employment. This is also despite the devastating impact of Hurricane Melissa. Dr. Coke Lloyd says Jamaica continues to struggle in providing the necessary skilled labor needed to fuel further economic growth. She says the often controversial topic needs to be removed from the realm of emotion and approached clinically. Well, Dr. Coke Lloyd joins us now, and we're also being joined by President of the Union of Clerical, Administrative and Supervisory Employees UCASE, that's Vincent Morrison. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening, Jackie.
Good evening to you both. Dr. Coke Lloyd, I was present for that introduction speech for you there at the Make Your Mark Group Middle Managers Conference, and it immediately caught me when you mentioned it, because you're right, it's a very evocative topic. It's one that often what carries on with it is this belief that there's almost a betrayal of the Jamaican people if you use a term such as importing labor, but you believe it's necessary to bring about economic growth under the circumstances. Please explain.
Thanks, Siobhan. This is not something I just started speaking about, because I saw this coming many years ago. I've often said, if Jamaica got their economic and all the macros right, do we have all the skill sets we need? And so I've been speaking about this for a couple of years, because it's something I've seen because of who I've worked with, where I've worked, and the fact is that Jamaica is not a good place. We have all the macros right, but we do have a problem of particular skill sets that are short, and employers are seeing that. They advertise, they interview for months, they cannot fill jobs, and that's unsustainable. The fact is that we would lose all the gains we have made if we are not able to move quickly. And you recognize that if we don't move quickly, you're wasting money. Money moves at the speed of light, and if we don't put in the right skill sets to get organizations moving, and we're not talking about private sector alone. We're talking about the public sector. All sectors require skill sets. But I always say, just remove the emotion. Our own people migrate. They take their skills to other countries. They work, they earn money. We can also bring in the skill sets that we need here. And if you can go back to the 1960s, that's what we recognized in the 1960s, that Jamaica was at a pivotal point. It needed to grow. So we injected the skill sets that were needed. We were growing at 6% per annum. And so it's about making the decision, but communicating it, bringing the people along so Jamaicans understand that it's not about replacing them, it's about assisting them because we're talking about brain gain. We've spent 20 years talking about the brain drain. So we need to talk about the brain gain, and that's about pairing those with international skill sets with the Jamaican skill set. So we create a living classroom. We're saying to our Jamaican people, we're bringing in people to assist you to grow. We don't have all the answers. It's like a teacher. You say to your child, you're moving from grade 1 to grade 2. Your child needs a different kind of teacher at grade 2. If you're going from high school to university, you're required, you now have a different lecturer, you have a new professor. You're going into different kinds of jobs. You're going to have one particular manager as opposed to an executive who's going to coach you. So at different stages of your development, whether it is personal or professional, you require different kinds of skill sets. So we need to look at it that way. We're not replacing Jamaicans. And that's why I also propose, Siobhan, that we have an accountability framework to manage this.
Yes.
So we're talking about from the work permit. How do we manage the work permit? How do private sector investments manage who they're training? And we're talking about a knowledge transfer. We are going to ensure that the knowledge is transferred if we bring in people. So it's a framework. We're not replacing anybody. And people are saying, I've often read, I've read the comments over the years. People are saying, but I don't have a job. Why am I not getting a job? And I urge people, if you're being interviewed several times and you're not getting a job, you probably need to do some introspection. Jamaica's at full employment, and where employers are looking for people. And if nobody's employing you, you either don't have the skill sets, the aptitude, or the attitude. And I urge all of us to do that. And it's not only Jamaica, it's international. If you cannot get a job and you keep interviewing, something is wrong. So we need to, personal responsibility is important for us. It's just like a business. You keep losing your customers. It means that you're doing something wrong. You need to do an evaluation. Yes. And I tell people emotions take over too much in the decisions that we make personally and professionally.
Yes, please stay with us. I'll bring you in shortly after this break, Vincent Morrison, to hear your say.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
The time by KIG is...
It's 6:31. Welcome back, listeners, viewers. We're talking about the importation of skilled labor. We have with us Managing Director for Make Your Mark, Dr. Jacqueline Coke-Lloyd, and President of the Union of Clerical, Administrative and Supervisory Employees, UCASE, Vincent Morrison. So, as a union man, Mr. Morrison, what say you on this matter of importing skilled labor to fill in those, I would say, obvious gaps in the labor force? You see the advertisements out there requesting we need employees here, we need employees there. What say you to this idea of just bringing in labor to fill those areas?
The term bringing in labor to fill the gaps is much too wide. We need to break that down. We need to define that. There's no question that if you constructing, for example, a hotel, and you need a particular skill of tiling or tilers, that has been happening. I recall a hotel on the South Coast that was allowed to do that. But I had a meeting with about 40, 50 former skilled employees of Alpart recently in Mandeville. And the question is, when Alpart is going to reopen? There's always need for skill here and there. Right across the spectrum, but a wide-scale importation of skills. When we have skills, we have a lot of skilled workers who were displaced in the sugar industry. And there are other industries that have closed where you have skilled workers.
But Vincent, isn't it more a question as to how transferable those skills are from one industry to the other? Because a skilled worker for, say, the sugar industry is not necessarily a transferable skill in other areas when you have an industry such as sugar, which is kind of on the decline, though.
Well, if you're talking about welders, if you're talking about pipe fitters, if you're talking about any skill, normally you can get them from the sugar industry because of all industries we have in Jamaica. Certainly, the sugar industry have a range of skills. Not only cane cutters, but almost every skill you can think about. But the point I want to make is really that we have not been training enough. In spite of the massive amount of resources that the Heart institution has, we have not been training. And, when we look at the numbers coming out of the schools each year, we have to understand that having the resources, we need to do better at training. So to say that bringing up, skills, I wouldn't want to describe it as emotive because we have been doing that from time to time. But I would love to hear, I would love to see a set program, an objective approach to how we convert some of our young people who are leaving the school system. We're not going to be doctors. We're not going to be lawyers. But you can earn decent wages. You can survive if you have the training and the skills that are needed. So what has to happen is that we have to maybe again do a study to know how many welders we're going to need, how many pipe fitters, how many of the particular skills that we're talking about. But we can't just decide that, boy, we're going to import skills. It's when you import somebody from India or anywhere to come to Jamaica, it's costly. You have to find living accommodation. You have to pay them even more than what you pay the Jamaican workers.
And Dr. Coke-Lloyd, I suppose that's always the retort. We have so many idle Jamaicans who have fallen out of the labor force. Why don't we just simply train them up? How do you respond to that?
Siobhan, there are a number of things that we need to look at, and that's why I suggested this national framework. Mandatory skills transfer, the private sector investment, and of course protecting our people. We know the number of unattached and unemployed, and we must stop assuming that because somebody is unemployed that they're employable or they want to be employed. We need to stop assuming that, because the longer somebody remains out of the workforce, many of them become non-productive and they have adopted certain kinds of cultures which cannot matriculate into a formal work system. So we must accept, and this is an international standard, that there are people who will never be employed in the formal sector, and it's going to take too much for us to train them, because many of them do not want to be trained. And many of the employers will tell you that when they pull in a number of the unattached, they will come for 1 week and they disappear because they don't understand structure. They don't want structure. And an employer who's serious about expansion and business cannot manage that. You can't train somebody for a week or a month and then they disappear. You're wasting time and you're wasting money. So it has to be, of course, I agree with Vincent, that it's not about a whole-scale bringing of people. It's not that at all. Nobody's advocating that, Vincent, and you know that. We've been around for a long time, and it's about how do we grow this country. Looking at where we are now, we have to fast-track. If you're talking about skills, you have people who have left the sugar industry. Are those skills transferable? In many cases, no. You're talking about a new digital economy. It's like even our cars. Look at our cars. Most of our cars are digital. Most of the mechanics of 10 years ago or 20 years ago cannot work on a new car. Have we looked at that? And the fact is that Jamaica is a country of 3 million people. countries with 10 million, and 22 billion people are importing the skills they need to fast-track their economy. So we need to be real about who we are and our capabilities. We need help. Your child needs help because they're not good at math. You get a math tutor. And we need to take this to a personal level for our country. We are 3 million people. We do not have all the skills we need. We're saying to ourselves, we need help in this area. We're going to bring in people for a certain number of years. These are the skills we need. We're going to have X number trained, have the skills transferred. The private sector will do their internal training and investment in these people. We'll have the protection framework around so that we are going to keep the skills that are required. And we're going to build the skills within our own teams. And over the next 5-10 years, we're going to set some goals. But we can't keep talking and going around and saying we don't want to bring in people into the country. Our own people are going elsewhere to build other countries. So we need to bring in people who have the skills that we need, because we need to look at execution. Jamaica, we love to talk about ideas and where we want to go, but we must execute on these ideas. And for me, it's about growing Jamaica, making Jamaica the better place so my grandchildren and so can move and they want to stay. So I believe in partnerships, collaboration, and that's the way of the world. We partner, we collaborate, and we look at those who are doing it better, and we bring them to our shores. And I personally believe that is the way to go. And if you study all the countries that have grown in this world, the great China, they bring in people into their country with skills that they do not have. And they determine the level of growth they want, how fast they want to grow in a particular industry. And that is what they plan. So planning, organization, implementation, execution, all revolves around systems and people.
And that doesn't sound like an unreasonable expectation, Vincent Morrison, as outlined by Dr. Coke-Lloyd. The proper planning and bringing of those labor skills that we need specifically.
I don't think it's unreasonable. But what I'm saying is that we have the human capital in Jamaica. We just look on the numbers coming out of the schools. Just look on the numbers.
Well, but didn't Dr. Coke-Lloyd raise a valid point that many people outside of the labor force, I don't want to put it as strongly as this, but they're simply not trainable. They present a simple problem based on their inability to adapt to a proper structure.
I don't believe that. Well, something is wrong with the education system. Something is wrong with the system, right? Because is the education system supposed to be the foundation?
No, but if I may come in here, Sheva.
Go ahead, Dr. Coke-Lloyd.
Let us go back to the issue. We do have a couple hundred persons who are unattached and unemployed. The government and the Heart and a number of institutions have tried to train many. Advertisements ads have gone out. They have been training people. But the fact is there are people who will not want to work. They don't want the jobs because maybe they're earning elsewhere. They're getting money from overseas. And as I said, some people do not like structure. And we need to stop pulling people where they don't want to go. Because you bring them into your organization, they stay for a week, they destabilize your organization, they disappear. You've spent your time training them. So we need to spend our time on those who want to be trained. Those who don't want to be trained, then they will decide how they will earn elsewhere, how they'll earn their bread. But the country has to grow, businesses need to grow, families need to grow. And if you don't have the right people with the right attitude and aptitude, then we're wasting our time and money. So we need to divide it. Those who want to work and those who don't want to work. Those who don't want to work, we know them already because they have chosen their way. And if you look at, as I said, Heart and a number of institutions have been working certainly for the last few years. The number of ads, and they've increased their training. They're putting new trainers, and they've called for people. And some people have moved. Others have chosen not to do so because they know they don't want to work. So let us not waste our time on that. Let us look at those who want to be trained, train them. And there are systems in place. The number of programs I've seen the Ministry of Education put in to help high schoolers matriculate from high school to university to so many other programs that they are going to be engaged and captured. So it's about a decision that people make personally. And we as a country can't wait on somebody to make a personal decision because we need to grow. An employer can't wait on somebody to make a personal decision for them to decide whether they will work with you. So in the meantime, we need to fill these jobs with people who want to work.
And Vincent Morrison, I have to say I have to side with Dr. Coke-Lloyd here because I have an anecdote that is quite prescient in this scenario where I had a cousin, so to speak. I'm not going to name anybody or shame anybody, but they were given an opportunity to work as I think the term is a practicing nurse or something to that effect, and they turned it down because they looked at the money and said, I don't want to work for that money. When they don't have any advanced skills, they don't have any training that would afford them a better salary than what they would be offered. But the simple fact of the matter, they don't want to work for a certain amount of money and they feel like they should earn more than that. How do you correct that kind of mindset?
Well, you touch a very important point there. You're talking about a practical nurse. But
yes, a practical nurse. Thank you for... Yes, that's a term, yes.
If we continue to pay people minimum wage, what do you think is going to happen? People are going to want to go on the farm work program. People are going to want to get visa to migrate here and there. Right? The fact of the matter is that it's not just as easy as Jackie is putting it. You know, it's much more complex.
But you see, I'd like to come in here again, Siobhan. We're talking about pay. People need to understand there's a value for a job, and a job comes a particular salary because of the value of it and the level of growth in our economy. Many jobs cannot be paid higher because our economy is not growing at the rate it should, and because we're not productive. And if our productivity continues to be minus because of how we work, how we live, and our mindset, salaries will not move because organizations cannot sell a product for more than X. A hotel has to be employing 2-3 times the number of persons because we don't go to work, so they have to buffer their teams with more than one, so that your salary is not cut in 3 because they're employing 3 persons for one job because we don't go to work. We stop when we feel like, and we have, personal baby father, baby mother problems. So our personal life is also affecting our ability to grow as a country and how the value that we bring to a job. And that's something that we need to have a conversation about in the country. That how long do we work? The latest report was that we work an average of 4 hours a day. Is that sustainable? There's no way that a country can grow if we work an average of 4 hours a day. It will not work. So we need to have a deep conversation about what work really is, what it means, how does our personal life affect work, how does that affect the productivity and organization, what is productivity? If I go in and I work 4 hours a day, but my manager is paying me for 8 hours, and he has to sell a product. He has, hold on there, convincing. He has overhead, he has electricity.
Dr. Coke-Lloyd, I have given you quite a little leeway. Let me allow Mr. Morrison to come in here because we're really over time, so let him go.
Jackie, it's not fair for you to Jamaican worker. He's working just 4 hours per day.
Yes, you can go back and you can ask. That's the latest stats I heard.
Let me just say something. You talk about getting people into Jamaica to work. You're not going to pay them minimum wage. We are quick to pay the Jamaican workers minimum wage.
Vincent, we always say that, but how many Jamaicans, in terms of a percentage of the actual workforce, are paid at minimum wage, Vincent?
Somebody from abroad, you pay them whatever, in US dollars, etc., etc. What we have to do, we have to change the culture. I don't want to call it a management culture, but we want to change the culture of fairness. We can do better in terms of why I think so many Jamaicans want to migrate. And I'm talking about doctors. You can't say the doctors and the nurses and the teachers and all of those groups who want to migrate are not trained?
Well, Vincent, you know why they migrate? They migrate because the exchange rate is when they send back the money to Jamaica. The exchange rate is good. We know that. It's not because they like living there.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're well over time. I apologize, but we are very much well over time. That is Managing Director for Make Your Mark Group, Dr. Jacqueline Coke-Lloyd, and President of the Union of Clerical, Administrative and Supervisory Employees, UK's Vincent Morrison. I really appreciate both of you coming on this evening. As I said, it's a very, very evocative topic, and it is one that we really do need to hash out. But again, I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Thanks for having me.
We take a quick break, listeners, and then we come back with Around the World.
It's $1 million summer with Mitsubishi. And if I beach, we are go, we have to reach it. Eclipse, cross it to safe and easy. Outlander, link up Pochi week. It's $1 million summer with Mitsubishi. By air sport, with space and seating comfortable. It's a Mitsubishi. Hey, it's a Mitsubishi. It's $1 million off. Them tree ride. Features nice with the leather inside. Cool AC, everybody feel right. It's $1 million summer. $1 million summer.
This promotion is authorized under Section 53 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act.
The Philharmonic Orchestra of Jamaica presents Encore, a harmonic reawakening, captivating music from the classical masters, movies, and our homeland. Saturday, May 16 and Sunday, May 17 at the Little Theatre. Conductor Franklin E. Halliburton. Guest soloist Sashika Brown. Tickets $5,000 pre-sold, $6,000 at the gate. Reserved box seats $7,500. Tickets at Fontana Pharmacy, Waterloo, and Sovereign, and the Music Mart. The Philharmonic Orchestra of Jamaica in concert, May 16 and 17 at the Little Theatre.
We can light up your world with the rays of the sun, putting pure energy in the palm of your hand.
For over 20 years, Fosrich has been putting a world of energy in your hands. Now we bring you big savings with our line of solar energy products and LED lighting. Financing now available for all your home and commercial retrofit projects. Consult with our in-house staff or certified professional engineers for all your electrical needs. Fosrich lifestyle. It's electric. Fosrich, your energy world.
Welcome back, listeners. It's time for Around the World, and we go back to the UK. And in the UK, the BBC is forecasting that Plaid Cymru will be the largest party in the Welsh Parliament, but will fall short of a majority. Welsh First Minister Eluned Morgan is expected to lose her seat. Labour is also facing a historic defeat there after 27 years in power. And over in Scotland, the BBC projects that the SNP will win the most seats in the Scottish Parliament, but will also fall short of a majority. Earlier, Sir Keir Starmer said he would not resign after Labour lost hundreds of councillors in England. More in this report from Sky News.
Keir Starmer out early in Ealing in London, here to meet Labour activists and get his message out after presiding over one of Labour's worst ever local election performances.
The results are tough. They are very tough. And there is no sugarcoating this. We have lost brilliant Labour representatives across the country. I take responsibility.
Taking responsibility but not accountability. Did you contemplate this morning that the responsibility is that it's time for you to go and to resign?
Let me be clear, these are really tough results. I'm not going to sugarcoat it.
Did you contemplate that the problem might be you, that you might need to go to help Labour win these seats back? Did you even contemplate it? Do you acknowledge it as a conversation even?
Look, I think it's absolutely clear that the electorate are fed up with the fact that their lives aren't changing quickly enough. But we haven't done enough to convince people that things can improve, their lives can get better.
To be clear, you are not going to resign?
No, I'm not going to walk away and plunge the country into chaos. We were elected to deal with these challenges, and that's what we will do.
Are you going to stand as Prime Minister at the next general election?
Yes, it was a 5-year term I was elected to do. I intend to see that through.
Starmer determined to stay, but his party being drowned as Reform's turquoise wave crashed over Labour's heartlands in Thameside, St Helens and Barnsley. in Essex, Nigel Farage arriving for a victory lap.
We are the clear winners of these elections, and the Red Wall results have stunned me. We're averaging 32% of the vote across the Red Wall, which is about a 9-point lead over Labour, with various other splits. Remarkable results, way beyond what I could have believed.
Keir Starmer's your greatest asset then?
Ironically, yes. I mean, we fought the campaign on vote reform, get Starmer out, and I think that will happen. I think the wave of rebellion will come from the Red Wall MPs.
Do you think he's going to have to stand down?
I think he'll be gone by midsummer, yeah.
Based on these results, Sky News election experts predict that Reform is heading to be the biggest party in a general election if one were held. Do you see yourself as a Prime Minister in waiting now?
Well, look, what I thought yesterday was about was effectively, in grand national terms, our Beecher's Brook, a big fence we had to clear, and we cleared it very, very well. There's still a lot more to do. I'm not taking anything for granted whatsoever.
You would be short of a majority, though. You'd be 42 seats short in the predictions. The obvious question is, would you ever do a deal with the Tories?
It's one of the last things I want to do.
26,865 votes.
Zach Polanski's Green Party also doing serious damage to Labour, winning its first directly elected Green mayor in Hackney for the first time.
This is a historic victory. This is the first time the Green Party have ever won a directly elected mayor. And two-party politics is not just dying, it is dead and it is buried.
The Lib Dems making gains in Portsmouth and Stockport and holding on to Eastleigh and Richmond, sending a message to the Tories.
You have failed as a party. You failed in government nationally. You failed in local government across the country.
Taking seats from the Conservatives, who've lost hundreds of councillors, but crumbs of comfort for Kemi Badenoch.
We had lots of great results in Westminster, in Wandsworth, in Broxport, in Harlow, in Basildon. The Conservative Party is coming back.
For Labour, as the day wore on, it went from bad to worse. Labour's Welsh First Minister looked close to tears as her party lost the Senedd after holding power in Wales since the dawn of devolution nearly 3 decades ago. Eleanor Morgan even lost her own seat.
Welsh Labour has today suffered a catastrophic result. It ends a century of Labour winning in Wales, and the party will need to take a really hard look at itself.
And Plaid Cymru's Reen Apioworth storming to victory, but without an outright majority. In Scotland, bad news for Labour too. One of their worst results ever. Scottish Labour leader Anas Sarwar called for Starmer to resign in February, and he stuck with that as the results rolled in.
Does he need to take responsibility?
I said what I said back in February, and I stand by that, but I'm going to focus on what this means for my party here in Scotland. And my party is hurting today, and it's my job to hold it together.
Labour had hoped after the 2024 general election to perhaps wrest Holyrood back from the SNP. Instead, the incumbent set to hold the Scottish Parliament for an unprecedented 5th term, but expected to fall just short of a majority. Nigel Farage and Zach Polanski have called these elections historic, and they truly are. What we're seeing is the breakdown of the two-party system that's dominated our politics for a century, as the patchwork of Labour red and Tory blue is painted over with a rainbow of parties holding power across the country. Reform are now a truly national party and the de facto opposition if you look at their spread and their support. And as for Labour, shell shock is the word. Losing Wales, the Red Wall, Red London. Starmer says he'll fight on, and senior figures are starting to come out to back him, but at best it seems that what he's won is a stay of execution. In the coming days, Starmer will mount a fight back to try to persuade his party he can be the change. But the ballot box tells a different story that, try as he might, he perhaps can't rewrite. Beth Rigby, Sky News.
There you have it, listeners. quite the landslide there for Reform UK, a party which I believe renamed from the Brexit Party, but it's not more than a few years old, toppling essentially the two entrenched political rivals for the better part of a century, that being the Tories and the Labour Party. If this was a general election, it would seem almost without a doubt that Nigel Farage would end up becoming the next Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. And it's quite a thought to think about it. But we'll see in the years to come if Keir Starmer really does stay at the helm, if he can somehow right the ship. But even then, if you look at the Tories, they did not have a good night either. And they will have to do some reflecting there. And Badenoch will have to decide what she's going to do in terms of rallying support for the Conservatives, because that is the key thing. Many of the voters, outside of those essentially disillusioned by the Labour government at the helm currently, many of those supporters are former Conservative supporters who simply don't see the fire or the spirit of what they believe to be with the Conservative regime there under Badenoch. So we'll see what happens in the coming months and years, how things shape up, but quite an interesting result there in the United Kingdom. The almost dominant two-party system completely fractured, and we have all of these multiple parties now capable of going within such a hair's breadth of government in the United Kingdom. But that's where we have to leave things, listeners. I'm getting the wrap-up signal. Thank you for joining us for Nationwide at 5. Thanks to our super producer, Dana Davey, our technical operator, Andrew the Glenn, the big man, Boogs Anderson, as well as all my friends and compatriot in the news and production department, led by the very capable Cara Powell. I'm Siobhan Campbell. Thank you for joining me. Please stay tuned for the comment section with Mahiri Stewart and Shaloy Smikle. Have a good Friday and a good evening.